borders here in Canada, you're about, I guess, about 6 or 7,000 kilometers to New Zealand from Canada, something like that. You're a long ways away. Anyways, welcome to the show, Mr. Eastwood. It's a
Thanks, man.
pleasure to have you back. Pleasure to have you back, buddy.
Oh, thank man. It's always a good pleasure to come back.
So you just finished your show, did you not?
Yeah, just finished my show like literally seconds ago. Um,
And you had Billy TK in?
no. I had. Hmm. You'll have to forgive me. I'm actually trying to get this one up and running as we speak. There we go. I got it on the one and getting it on the other, because the whole idea is like if we share our audience and simulcast and things of that nature, it makes things just that little bit more awesome. All right, there we go. Everything's up and running. So, Barry, somebody said to me the other day, Vinny, you're a legend in the New Zealand alternative media. But since deplatforming, the legendary status has become sort of mythic. It's just like, who was this Vinny Eastwood character and what the heck happened to him? And he's just gone. And it's, the most common thing I hear is, hey, Vinny, are you still doing shows? And it's like, yeah, I've been doing them every week for 17 years. I haven't stopped.
No, I know.
That was what's kind of difficult as well about getting deplatformed and demonized and having your life go through so many changes is that they were talking about attention grabbing content, right? Like for instance, if you are for instance, making content of some description, regardless of what it is, it has to get people's attention while they are scrolling through things at a million miles a minute. All right, and that is very, very difficult. It's freaking impossible, and I have noticed that quite resoundingly that back in the day I would watch a 3 hour documentary, maybe even a 3 hour plus, kind of thing. I'd sit there and watch a 10 hour David Icke production with one of my listeners, Barry, who bought the DVD set, and we would actually sit there and watch it. And Barry, who hates cats, would fall asleep while watching it, and my cat would go and sleep on him. And nowadays, having that kind of attention span is, it's not really prevalent. People want things in bite size, TikTok, Instagram, and things of that nature. So public consciousness and attention span has shifted quite significantly in the wrong direction, right? People having the ability to concentrate is not quite there,
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed a shift in people's thinking in society. Um, Not for the better. Not for the better.
Well, it's not like really a shift in thinking. It's more like the erasure of it. Like, for
The
instance,
lack of it.
if somebody had to explain to you the dynamics of putting together I don't know, even some Lego, and I noticed this with my daughter. I was playing Lego with her, and we were trying to follow the instructions. But if you follow one instruction after the other, it was actually just too much for her, right? And I think maybe that's very similar, is that the populace in general have become very much like children in that degree, not being able to concentrate or do their real work properly in some measure. And it's not going to serve people, I think, to a large degree, because we've got all these influences on people's attention span, not only food, sleep, the amount of water you're drinking, the amount of anxiety you have, the amount of screen time that you undertake. These all affect concentration and what you call peak concentration, which can only really be gotten into for about 45 minutes in a stretch if you're lucky. And after that, people stop paying attention. They start to slow down. They start making mistakes and things of that nature. And then they have to go back and correct those mistakes, which takes even more time, which raises their anxiety, which again brings down their concentration and level of cognitive ability. And people haven't really kind of gotten that concept of sort of like time and brain health. And so when we're trying to wake up the world to a complicated system, I mean, the chances that they're going to even have the faculty to be capable of understanding it is extraordinarily low. Now, that could be necessarily seen as a bad thing, and overall, if you look at it objectively, yeah, it's definitely not a good thing. But on the other hand, it doesn't take everybody participating and everybody understanding and everybody working at the same problem to get that problem recognized and solved, because most people are follow the leader type thing. So, is this what we're doing? Oh, okay. And they just sort of shuffle along. Like, I guarantee you, if the truth movement somehow tomorrow vanquished the New World Order, like all these people were just brought out onto the street and we have these trials and then we put them away behind bars and we start running society the way we want to and having respect for people's autonomy and their personal sovereignty and their private property, yada, yada, yada. Most people wouldn't give a crap about it. They would simply just be like, oh, is this the new way things are doing now? All right. And they wouldn't even be grateful, and to have all these things given to them that they didn't have to fight for. Right? I think that maybe in the alternative media and truth media sphere, there are a lot of people who are extraordinarily ungrateful for the people who've laid the path down, who have done the early jobs, people like G. Edward Griffin, Jordan Maxwell, those kind of people who had worked for like 50, 60 years in some cases to bring the truth to people despite massive, massive opposition. And me personally, I am very, very grateful to everybody who has sacrificed for the truth in any way, but particularly am humble and show great umbrage to those people who have sacrificed and been doing it for much, much longer, because they know what it takes out of you. Yep. How many years have you been doing this, Barry? Why did you even start doing it?
I've been doing radio for about 11 years now, I guess, Vinny, 11 or 12 years. I phoned into a radio show in England. Dark City Radio was the name of the network. They're still operating. But they had Rick Simpson on, and I wanted to talk to Rick Simpson. So I phoned into the station, and I started conversing with Rick on the air. And I was about to hang up, and the owner of the station, Paul Hayden was his name, said, Barry, have you ever done a radio show? And I said, no. He said, well, do you want to do one? And I went, what? Well, that was the start of my radio career. And that was about 11 or 12 years ago now, Vinny. I've enjoyed doing what I do. I get to meet some really good people. You're one of my favorite people to get on, man. You really know what you're talking about. You really hit the nail on the head every time you get on here. And I appreciate your input, man, greatly.
Yeah, so this... element that is going on, especially like I do guest on a number of shows, and they're often talking about current events, and for me, current events aren't really of interest because they don't evolve you, like this thing has happened today. Oh yeah. How do I change my life in response to that, right? Like there's certain realizations within the truth movement, like fluoride. The realization there is your government can and will poison you to make sure that your sperm count and your fertility is low, as your IQ will be lowered, as well as getting cancer. Your government the person that you vote for, and things of that nature is willing to do that to you. 9/11 being an inside job, another important realization. Yes, the government will murder you and then use your sacrifice that they sacrificed you for in order to fulfill other agendas and get people all hyped up in a frenzy so that they'll go overseas and sacrifice themselves for the agenda to be furthered. Right?
Yep.
That's a big realization. EMF and Wi-Fi are constantly irradiating you, affecting your brain matter, affecting your nervous system, and destroying your concentration and giving you cancer. Your government will legalize things that are essentially radiation poisoning par excellence in order to control you, to disable you, to make you easier to control. Another important realization. Now, when people say that the Earth is flat, let's say you look at the evidence and you conclude to yourself, yes, it is. What's the realization that comes with that? Nothing. Because you don't actually change anything in your life in terms of things, it's becoming. A lot of people get obsessed with it, and obsessed with Trump, and obsessed with Q, and obsessed with the Mandela effect, and instead of actually learning something from it and applying it in their lives and using it as part of their tool belt to navigate the dangerous road of truth, they simply stop there. This is the most important realization, and I have to tell everybody about it until I die from it. Right? And that becomes something that really traps people. Is it a psyop? Is it not? I don't know for absolute sure. However, I do know that taking conclusions from things and applying them to your life is the whole point of gaining knowledge, because knowledge you do not apply is the definition of useless knowledge. And I lump many current events and things of that nature that people are like doing this 24-hour news cycle. Let's obsess with this for a couple of days and then let's drop that and get the new thing that the mainstream media are perpetuating and pulling our attention. And I saw a great meme the other day. Winston Montag and Justin Padini and Ryan Tabarlock. They do great memes, and I follow them on Facebook. And it had Lisa from The Simpsons in front of a little presenter board, and it says, if the mainstream media supports what you are saying, you are not the resistance. And I was having a conversation at a friend of mine's place with one of his mates who is staying there. And he was basically a big advocate in government taking things from people, government forcing people to do what it wants, and coming up with rules and regulations, and supports the climate change agenda and all of that kind of stuff, and saying that anybody who criticizes climate change is funded by big oil. And I had to put him right. I mean, I don't think he would have listened, because it's sort of like mental illness when you get to that point of believing what the mainstream media says, is that if climate change, for example, is a thing, right, and there were people speaking out against it and they were all funded by big oil, how come all the alternatives to the current oil regime, like solar power, wind power, electric cars, things of that nature, how come all those alternatives are owned by the oil companies and their shareholders? How come all the people that criticize climate change and come out against it and deny the official narrative lose their jobs, lose their funding, and so on and so forth? Wouldn't big oil just suddenly come in and start doing that? No. Because it's a scam that they've created to get people to believe, as the Club of Rome and the Committee of 300, I think it was one of those, who said that we need to make humanity itself the enemy, pollution the enemy, and we are the cause of it. And this gets people into a mentality that people are the problem. People are not the problem. They never have been. They've always been the solution. It just depends where they're directed, who is directing them, because people naturally form themselves into hierarchical structures. Animals do this. Even in Africa, where 1,000 lions, for example, marching in a migration across the Serengeti, would appoint one lion to lead them. All these different families and prides and things of that nature come together under one leader. Just like the zebras and the buffalo and things of that nature. Leadership is a thing that exists for a reason. It's because people need it. Right? Leading by yourself and doing things by yourself, that's great. There's plenty of independent people out there who can do amazing things, but they have to do all those things by themselves, without a team, without support. And as a result, their productivity and their efficiency is significantly lowered. Now, the difference between leadership and tyranny is that it comes to a core understanding of being in charge. Okay? Who is in charge? What is their job? A lot of people think that being in charge is about telling you what to do and telling you what to do and making you all do it if you don't want to. No. Being in charge is about taking responsibility to care for the people who are in your charge. There's a very clear distinction. One of them cares, one of them only cares about the objective and nothing else. And that is the main difference between leadership and tyranny. Now, what's problematic in our society, and particularly in our movement, is that people who have assumed leadership roles and positions have positions of power. Now, because any position that has power will attract people who crave power to it, it means that authority in and of itself, to a large degree in our society, is no longer something that is valued or respected or cared for. It just becomes, somebody else telling me what to do. That's what happens when you have occultic entities with large quantities of power over mankind. You miss the ability to have somebody direct you in ways that are actually good for you and actually good for the country, because those people got demonized, sabotaged, and destroyed because they wanted to do the right thing with their power, because they weren't attracted to the job because of the power. They were there because that power enabled them to do the right thing more effectively. And we've got this whole anti-authority mentality in the truth movement, and in some cases, pointing at those quote-unquote authorities as though they're a problem, as though they shouldn't have any authority over you. While correct, we do forget our craving and our need for leadership, mentorship, and responsibility, right? Spider-Man was told, with great power comes great responsibility, but I believe it's the opposite way round. It is those who take great responsibility who subsequently gain great power, not because they sought the power, but because they sought the responsibility. And that principle goes for us all.
Well said. Well said. That was a mouthful. Let me think about that for about 5 minutes, Vinny. So besides that, I have to ask you a question. What is that picture in your background? And why are these guys wearing masks? And what is that? You got to tell me, because it's been driving me nuts since the start of the show.
Oh, okay. Well, that's my background image of me being arrested. So, like, if I move my head.
Oh, okay. Now I can see you.
You can see where there's the Vinny.
Okay.
Yeah. It's funny, yeah.
Okay. And when were you arrested? That was a couple of years ago when they actually arrested you, wasn't it?
August 18th, 2021.
2021.
At 1 p.m.
And now are you finished with all your court proceedings? Are you done going to court over this bullshit that you were going to court for?
Mate, I will just express what has happened and the feeling of it
Okay.
now, just in a sound.
Okay.
You know, that's it, man. Like it's over, it's done, and it's just like I was actually thinking about it this. Yeah, I was thinking about it this morning. Now that you mention it, I'm no longer going to jail. Thank God. I'm just a regular free range slave at the moment, and you got to love that free range slavery, man. You know, and
So how long did they put you in jail for, Vinny? How long were you actually in jail for?
Actually in jail was when they first arrested us was 28 hours in solitary confinement, and we did 28 months of court, and they did want to send us for 4 months for myself in prison for standing within 2 meters of another person, and 5 months for Billy 2K, who was arrested just before me.
Right.
So, yeah, we won our appeal on the other hand, and we got discharged with conviction, which is incidentally how Billy and my children got here. But anyway, we went through quite a significant loss during that time. So it was an interesting period whereby Billy TK came on the scene, and unlike every single other alternative media entity in this country, basically, he was the only one who actually asked for my help and asked for my mentorship into what he was getting into and what he was doing, you know. So I helped him set up his live stream stuff. Every now and again he'll give me a call and he's like, "Oh, Vinny, this isn't working," or whatever, and I'll fix it and show him how and that kind of thing. And he had a great consistency with the amount he's broadcasting, but no, he was the only person who did that. Everybody else just goes, "Oh, Vinny, he's been doing this 17 years. What the hell does he know? I'll just do it all by myself and through trial and error." That was a bit of a bummer. And of course, after we got arrested, one of our bail conditions was being banned from the internet, as in we couldn't broadcast. And right about the time that we got arrested, that is when all the other now known alternative media, Chantal Baker, Voices for Freedom, Counterspin Media, and Damien Dement and a couple of other people, respectively, suddenly popped into existence while Billy and I were out of the picture. And then when we came back into the picture, nobody noticed. And we've been struggling to find our audience and get them back ever since. The market got saturated. Like in the 6 weeks that I was banned from the internet, for example, Chantal Baker got more of a following on Facebook in 6 weeks than I did in my 10, 15 years of activism at that point. You know? It was unbelievable how much she really hosed in, and that just shows the level of dedication that she did. You know, she did a lot of work in order to gain that audience that quickly, and all of them did. They did so much work. They helped so many people, and most of them are actually still going today. And they didn't ask for my help, and they didn't need it. They just did it by themselves, and that's why I've kind of took like a little bit of a double take, and I was just like, does New Zealand even need me anymore? And then I actually started getting messages from people saying that they were going to kill themselves until they listened to my show, and they realized that something was actually worse than their life. That, of course, being Vinny's jokes. But you know, if you if your life is that bad, you got to find something that's much, much worse in order to give you a kind of that impetus to keep on living. And so that was fun, good recognition and acknowledgement for that, and I'm so grateful to the handful of listeners that I have. Like I know almost all my listeners' names. Like I recognize them when they come into the chat room. Got like in the chat room right now. We've got WCB 99. He's almost always the first. We've got Tanya Bauer, who's like a total stalwart. We've got Kiwi Radio NZ, who built my website, and Nagushka, who's a regular. And on the Facebook, we've got my wonderful mod DK, who is quite fantastic. And man, at the moment we have an average view duration of 11 minutes and 11 seconds, which is quite interesting. And of course, Amos has given us a $7 super chat. Andrea Adams is in the chat. She's been helping me out for years and years. She's been listening to the show, and all of these people that are recognizable to me, who have supported me for so long. Luna Longshadow, that kind of thing. It's rare to get new people who become as dedicated to the show as the audience base that I have. They're really cool people, and I've spoken to a lot of them privately, and they're fun. They're funny. They've got interesting stories to tell. They've got skills. They work really hard at doing their truthing and doing their own little businesses and things of that nature. It's just sort of like I don't have a quantity of an audience. What I have is a quality audience, because they're all cool people. And the last thing you want flooding your chat rooms and things of that nature is people who are just inherently uncool. I'm just sick to death of them, because most people don't really care about things that are important and don't understand the obligation that sits upon them. And so, I feel very lucky to have people of such quality who listen to my show. Lucky.
Well, hello to everybody listening to Vinny's show, and you've got a good man to listen to. I've listened to Vinny's shows many times. I've sat in and listened to him talk, and he has a way of explaining things that nobody else does, and I like listening to him. So keep up the good work, Vinny.
All right.
Quality is more important than quantity.
Yeah, and so I would like some help in that regard, though, because I've noticed, like, if I go to my archives page, I don't have a single like, a single Facebook like, or a single share on any of my archives, basically. Any of them. And I was just wondering where people are listening to it and how and what have you, and do they listen to it just live and don't go to the archives page? And if you are listening to this, go to the VinnyEastwoodShow.com and go to the archives page and just give us a couple of likes or something like that on those archives, because it felt very discouraging. I remember one time I was doing a Facebook Live and I had one viewer, right? And, a lot of people would be very disappointed in that and sort of like doubt themselves or whatever. But I actually drew inspiration from it. I was like, oh my God, I can get a listener, And if I can do it, you can do it too, folks. Okay? Just start broadcasting. I'm sure your listener will turn up. There's
You made the big times, Vinny. You made the big times, buddy.
I'll
tell you.
Get to the big one.
When I grow up, I'm going to be just like you, buddy. I'm telling you.
Yeah. It's all about the big one.
I don't know how many viewers I've got here. I asked the station once for IP hits on the server, and they said they were abundant, but they wouldn't give me a number. So all I know is I get a few people tuning in and listening to my shows every week. It doesn't matter to me if I got 10 people or 50 people or 100 people. If somebody takes away something from what I've said to them during the course of the conversation, I've had a good day in my world.
Yeah. And that's why we do it, you know. Well, at least that's why some people say that they do it. And I've been questioning that lately. Why am I actually doing this? Because circumstances have changed from when I began. Not in terms of, you know, the world. Of course, the world's changed, but I've changed. You know, I know now how much work I did to acquire the knowledge that I have. It wasn't just all talent, you know, that made this show happen. It was support, you know, like my former somewhat fabulous producer, Mitch Santel. He literally gave me my website and my show, and Danny Romero from American Freedom Radio, where I started off. But that happened 2 years after me doing my thing by myself. And I remember talking to the Ground Zero Radio producers, and I asked them, because they've got really good shows on their network. I remember I was just listening at random throughout the day at one point just to check it, and I can't remember their names, sort of thing, but I remember that every single show, every different one that I was listening to throughout that day sounded professional and had quality broadcasting parameters to it. And I asked them, you know, how did you do that? How did you create one network where all the hosts have talent and quality of broadcast? And they said it was consistency, Vinny. You know, people have to be doing what they're doing for years and proven themselves that they're not just going to give up, that they're not just going to stop, that they've done consistently good work for all those years. Then we'll give them a spot on the network. And the contract that they got me to sign, and the contract that Anarchapulco gives out as well, there's sections in there which I think are actually important and incredibly relevant for the truth movement. Don't publicly criticize the other talk radio show hosts. All right? Infighting is a bad thing. It turns off the audience. Like, seriously, they sit there and they hear you bitching and whinging and moaning about the people that are on your side. They don't want to listen to it. And some people get stuck in this trap, like I did back in the day with Mr. Pete Santilli, but who's not on our side. He was actually working for the FBI, and we've got the evidence. We had the facts that he sent them. And people eventually just kind of get over that sort of victimhood and the infighting, and it makes them miserable. All right, seriously, it makes people miserable having to listen to other people's bitching and moaning about the other people in the truth movement. It's like I think Steve Hughes, who I'm going to be getting on my show in a couple of weeks' time, he's the best comedian in the world. And he's just had open heart surgery. So I was just like, dude, I've got to get you on the show before you have another arrhythmia. And he said,
before you croak.
He said he likes all sorts of he likes all sorts of metal, you know, death metal, black metal, and Enya. Actually, you know, if you're listening to Slayer all day, you need something to relax in the afternoon. And this guy in the audience one time in England gets up and goes, "Oh, I hate Enya." And he goes, "You hate Enya? George Bush is still alive, mate. Condoleezza Rice, Dick Cheney. Okay, these are globalist demons. And this is Enya. Okay? You should hate positively." and I think the same goes for the a large quantity of the truth movement. We sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes not only forget what we're fighting for, we forget who we're up against. Okay? Who are we up against? We're up against the most well-organized, well-financed, and sophisticated control matrix that has ever been seen in recorded history. And if we do not act appropriately and band together and unite, and this is also where the Santilli thing comes in, because this throws a spanner in the works, there are agents among us. There are. Okay? And well, how do you spot who's an agent, Vinny, or something like that? And it's not terribly difficult. The question is, how do you feel after your broadcast? Do you feel like you've become enlightened a little bit? Do you feel like you've become motivated a little bit? Or more positive in a way? And more capable? Do you feel encouraged? If that is what you feel after listening to a particular broadcaster, the chance that they're an agent is extremely low. But if you come off a broadcast and you're feeling stressed and paranoid and angry and afraid and things of that nature, you might be listening to an agent. You just never know, because personality disorders are ubiquitous, especially in this industry. Okay? You can't be a talk radio show host unless you're a little bit full of yourself. Okay? The difference is whether you're full of yourself and full of love for your fellow man, or just full of yourself, but you're an empty cup that cannot be filled, and you constantly need attention to fill it. You know? I could take a year off from my show, and I'd be like, fine. You know, that'd be great, wouldn't it? But I don't, because I'm not doing it for the attention. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. This is the best career path that I've ever had in my life. I get to talk to wonderful people who are intelligent and got a great sense of humor and great stories and things of that nature all the time. I remember one time when I was like 19 years old at university, and my friend told me, you know, the problem with you is, Vinny, his name was Terry, is that you always try to have deep, meaningful conversations with people. And I go, well, Jesus, I'm sorry. I guess I've been going about this all wrong. And then I wound up getting a career where I do almost exclusively that, and people listen to it because there's very little competition, right? There's a lot of different talk radio shows and talk radio hosts and stuff like that in this world, but I do things a little bit differently because of what Danny Romero from American Freedom Radio taught me. The number one rule of broadcasting and radio: have fun, because if you're having fun, the audience will too.
Yep. Is that where you do your shows, American Freedom Radio?
Now, I seem to have lost you there, Barry. You're talking, but I can't hear you.
Well, yeah, do you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay. American Freedom Radio, that's where you do your shows?
That's where I did do my shows when I started off, but it's since become a little bit defunct. So I'm on groundzero.radio at the moment, as well as people can find me on pretty much all the social media, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, where I do the show live. And I think it was something about that. Yes, I need people to subscribe, all right, and give it a like and share it a little bit, because it is incredibly difficult after the deplatforming and everything that happened to me, as well as some poor choices that I made because I was so traumatized and made some bad decisions in my personal life, and I hope people don't judge me too terribly for that. I feel really bad about it. I'm trying to make up for it. But yeah, I really do need people's help to come back from where I was. I looked to the alternative media in New Zealand to help me do that. all the ones who had become major and had a decent sized audience that they could help me, remind my audience that I was still there, that I still existed, that I was still doing a show. They didn't help me at all, and in some cases just completely ignored me, and that hurt, after doing like 15 years of hardcore truthing and broadcasting. I can't even get my own people to support me and help me and be good work colleagues and things like that. That hurt my feelings massively, and I'm still not over that.
I was looking at my archives, and it was 5 years ago was the first time I've had you on the radio, Vinny. So it's been 5 years that we've been conversing. And I've had you on approximately twice a year. So we'll have to keep it up. I enjoy talking to you.
Indeed.
With you. What was I going to ask you? I was going to ask you something, and it slipped my mind. That happens to me a lot now. I'm 70 years old, and I find my brain will be thinking about something, and then you start talking, and it slips away, and I can't get it back. So it will come back eventually. Give it some time.
One can only hope. You're not going to do a Biden on us, are you, bro?
No. I don't think so. Boy, I tell you, what do you think of Donald J. Trump? Penny, what are you feeling? What are your feelings on him?
Well,
honestly,
I like what I hear, but unfortunately, because it's what I want to hear, I'm incredibly suspicious of it coming from any kind of authority figure that is supported by the New World Order. What do you mean, Vinny? He's not supported by the New World Order? Really? Have you ever heard of that congressman in the United States who never gets in the media and is frequently top in polls and yet doesn't get reported on? And so Congressman Ron Paul, rather. Okay, that guy, when he was campaigning, he appeared like number one in a poll, and the media reported only the second, third, and fourth candidates and what their ranking was in the poll. Okay, all right. So if you are a real, genuine person and a massive threat to the New World Order, the coverage that you get is nil. Whereas Trump, everybody's talking about him all the time on both sides of the fence, so that it's on everybody's mind. It's in front of everybody, and I'm like, that makes me immediately suspicious that something's going on. And then you take his first term, for example, where there was, I believe, a hand-picked, unelected cabinet that he had. And I paid zero attention to the Trump election, okay, because I'd lost a taste for following American elections after Obama won, and he said, we're going to end the illegal wiretapping in the United States. We're going to end the illegal no-end-in-sight wars, so on and so forth, and then drops more bombs in his first term than George Bush did in his entire presidency, right? That was the last time that I ever listened or paid attention to an American presidential race, because what they tell you is what you want to hear. And then what they do is the same old thing. So when Trump got elected, after he announced his cabinet, then I did some work on it. And so I was like, okay, what did Alex Jones tell us, a big promoter of Trump, by the way, really runs the United States? He says it was think tanks and clubs that all the members of the president's cabinet belong to. These are things like the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, and Freemasons, and so on and so forth. So what I did is I did this thing called journalism, okay, which apparently the vast effing majority of the truth movement is capable of doing, but they just don't do it. All right, okay. Very simple thing. You put down a person's name, okay, like his defense minister or whatever. Just put down their name, and then you put down next to their name Trilateral Commission, and you do a search. Then you do a second search. You put in their name, and then you put in Club of Rome. Or you put in their name, and then you put in Council on Foreign Relations, or the Council of National Policy, or Freemasons, or something like that. And for every single member of his cabinet, bar maybe one or two, it was an incredibly easy Google search to get a hit from. Okay?
Yep.
That means that every single member of his cabinet, when he was first elected back in the day, was part of the New World Order frontmen and dark occultists that have been running America since the time of JFK's passing. Okay?
Yep.
And people want to tell me that he's going to save me, that Q's got it all right, and they've shown me proofs. You know? I am not an idiot. Because I know that if you've got virtually an entire cabinet full of Ashkenazi Jews with dual citizenship, I know that if I was American, I wouldn't trust them to have America's best interests at heart. But that's only because I'm not an idiot. And I do a minimal bit of research. That research that I did on just the main cabinet members, it took me an hour. And for some reason, virtually the entire truth movement, who were lock, stock, and barrel Trump supporters, don't know what Google is. Don't know what the Council on Foreign Relations is. Don't know what the Trilateral Commission is. Don't know what world government is. Don't know what Israeli frickin' intelligence operatives look like. And they just hose in because it was popular. Okay? If you become a Trump supporter and you start promoting him left, right, and center, a whole bunch of these people will come and support your cause. Okay? You'll have a huge amount of media attention because the mainstream media is all talking about Trump. So naturally, if you're into the alternative media, you want to be able to have your own alternative media coverage of Trump as well. And it's a he said, she said, this, that, and the other, back and forth kind of crap going on. And it just got to the point where I was incredibly disappointed in the vast majority of the truth movement's lack of journalistic integrity, their lack of even basic journalistic skills, which means that they're either agents or they're idiots. And neither is a good thing. And so that's Trump's first term. On the other hand, now people are like, oh, but he's got a second term now, Vinny. You know, you've got to give him another chance. This is like, I gave him a chance the first time, okay? And just be like, remains to be seen. And then he passed 118 executive orders in his first month or 2 months in office or something like that. I bet that all these Trump supporters haven't read any of those executive orders, okay? And don't know what's in them. Because the reason why it pissed me off so is because when Obama and George W. Bush first got into power, what did they do in their first 3 months? They passed a hell of a lot of executive orders that people didn't read. Their supporters did not read. Because if you are somebody's supporter, for some reason, you're immune to evidence against them, okay? You're immune to them doing wrongdoing and you knowing about it. Why? Because we don't like to be wrong, do we? We want to have a leader, don't we? We want to have faith in that leader. We want to feel like we're winning. And you should have seen, it was all across the alternative media and even people in the film industry and things like that, all totally behind them and celebrating their victory. You didn't win jack. Okay? The Satanic New World Order won the presidency, just like the last, couple of dozen presidencies? In a row! And now all of a sudden, there's been no major societal change for the better in the last 5-6 decades? And you think that all of a sudden, people are up with the truth? No! Okay, there's a mechanism in place here, and I only found it out, or at least I think I found it out. I could be wrong. Is that it's called the pressure release candidate. Okay, if you're under a president like George W. Bush, an allegedly right-wing government, for 8 years, and he's telling lies all the time, starting wars all the time, surveilling people all the time, and getting the country into debt all the time, you get sick of him, even though he promised to get you out of all of those things in the first place. You don't remember that. And so then they put a candidate called Obama, who promises to stop all of those things that the previous candidate did. And then, once he gets elected, everybody's so full of hopium, they don't actually pay any attention to what he actually does and see whether or not it made up with his words. And so what did he do? The exact same thing that Bush did. Okay? This is an alleged left-leaning government. And then people got sick of him. Okay, as they got sick of Bush. And so, what those two candidates had in common before Trump came along, they told people what they wanted to hear before the election, and then they did what the New World Order wanted them to do after the election. Okay? Pressure release valve candidates. However long you can keep the scam going, change the name of the scam, take it underground, and then when it comes back, people will believe it to be revolutionary. And you can perpetually keep people in a state of malnutrition of the mind and the soul, believing that nothingness will fill them up. And it won't, and it can't, and it never will. The only person that is going to save your ass, ladies and gentlemen, I like the term your ass, is you. Because if you're not taking responsibility for your nation, for your people, if you don't care enough to make sacrifices, your country will not change, because it can't, because it takes you to do it. It doesn't matter who your leader is. It doesn't matter what institutions you belong to or what groups and clubs. If you yourself, and conversely everybody else and everything, aren't focused on what you yourself are doing and making an effort to make the country better, nothing will change by the election of a president or the new head of a department or a new representative or a new alternative media outlet. It is the participation of the people in and of themselves that creates and foments change when combined with good leadership, not the other way round.
Amen, Vinny. Amen. Listen, we only got about a minute and a half left here. I'm going to get you to share your last thoughts, and thanks for joining me today. Always good to have you in, and I don't get to talk a lot when you're on the show, but that's good, man. You're like the Duracell bunny. You know, I put the batteries in you, and you go and go and go, and it's great. Always, always, always a pleasure to listen to you talk, buddy.
The joys.
I'll have you back. I'll have you back soon. And last thoughts from you.
The joys of a caffeinated Vinny. The important thing about being on talk radio is, of course, just to have fun and be yourself, guys. And again, I just want to give a shout out to my audience. Apparently, one of my mods, Amos, is in town. He's also just resubscribed to me on Tier 1 on Twitch. Thank you, Amos. So I just want to just say to everybody, no matter what you've done to support the show, no matter how few shows that you have listened to of mine, I get people saying, "Oh, sorry, I haven't listened to your show for a while, Vinny." I go, "Really? Is that because you've been doing your own thing and you've been making the world a better place instead of wasting your time listening to my show to get that inspiration that you needed at the time?" It's like, well, yeah, okay, thank you. Stop listening to my show. Seriously, guys, if you are doing your thing and you are making the world a better place, stop giving other things and other people your attention, because no matter how inspiring or awesome they are, like the VinnyEastwoodShow.com, it is a waste of your potential. I want you to reach your potential, and don't look at anybody else as doing more than you. You can only do what you can do. See you guys.
Vinny, time's up. Vinny, time's up, buddy. I'm going to let you go. That's the show for the week, folks. Be back next week. Same time.
All right, guys, that is the Vinny Eastwood Show double feature for the day. We had Christiana Van Wyk in the first hour, and then, of course, I was a guest on The Big Puzzle with Barry Prince on Revolution Radio in the second hour. So, again, I'd like to thank all of you so very much for supporting me, for listening to the show. And however, if you're listening to the show in lieu of doing something you should be doing, naughty. Okay, guys. DK saying, love you, Vinny. Don't stop being you. Is it possible to stop being oneself? I guess it is. We get corrupted, don't we? You know, certain things happen to you, and you lose your encouragement. You know, you lose your courage. You self-doubt starts coming in. You stop being yourself. You start doing something else, you know. And I've got like, we've got Sir Nanos Green is saying, yeah, nah, I've always got time for you, bro. Oh, cheers, man. I mean, what function does the Vinny Eastwood Show actually perform here? You know, are you becoming enlightened? Are you becoming motivated? Are you being encouraged? Have you I don't know, have you gained something from it? You know, because at the time, a lot of people, they die before they accomplish their dreams. And I don't want to do that. And I don't want anybody who spends any time with me or spends any time listening to my show to do that. And that's why sometimes I'm cognizant of the fact that back in the day when I was listening to huge quantities of talk radio and watching lots and lots of YouTube videos and things of that nature to do with the truth, that eventually broke the camel's back, and I was able to stop watching other people's content and start creating my own. And that's what I really want people to take away from this show. If you've ever listened to an episode, I know that Amos started his show because of me, and V on the Republic Broadcasting Network started his show because of me. I know a number of people who are very close and supportive of the show who have told me privately that they would have killed themselves if it wasn't for the show, you know. So I hope that I have contributed something important to your life that makes your life richer. I don't know why I do the show anymore. I'll just tell you that now. I don't know why I'm doing the show anymore. And then every single time I have that thought, one of you, unsolicited, tells me something very encouraging. And I continue to do the show. Right? It was like I was saying in the interview with Christiana Van Wyk, everything you need will be there for you right at the time you need it and the exact amount you need. And you guys are here, and you are precisely what I needed. And I am so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for all the support that you have given me, for those people who have been supporting me over the years. What are you doing? Are you gluttons for punishment? It's like it's something I've always wanted to see happen, and I do see it happen all the time. Is people getting inspired by somebody who's created something that has enriched their lives, made their lives better, and caused them to become even more productive people. So that's it. You know, the New Zealand Māori have a saying, you know, what is most important in life? It is people, it is people, it is people. Never mind the fact that at the time Māori took slaves, and you could get slaves to do stuff for you because, people were quite an important resource, as well as a food source, the cannibals kind of thing. I think it was like James Cook, who came to New Zealand for the British, came aboard. I think it was a longboat with 14 men on board. They were all eaten before sundown. Right? And so I think that something adjacent to that, people are important, but not as slaves and not as food, but as a source of independent inspiration. All right? If I've inspired you, wonderful. That is now your task. That is now your inspiration to do with what you will, guys. Seriously. I've had a lot of people credit me with things that they have done. That credit does not belong to me, guys. It belongs to you, the one who's doing it, the one who's putting in the work. Give yourself a little pat on the back and say good on you, because you did the work, and that credit belongs to you. And if other people don't give you that credit, give yourself a little bit of credit. You're awesome. And I'm very, very grateful for each and every one of you for sticking in there and coming down to the end of the show. And DK is saying, Vinny knows I'll never stop. I mean, if you've ever tried to get DK to stop drinking, that's about as likely as him stopping broadcasting. All right, like it's just not going to happen. Oh, I love you, DK. And the beer companies love you too. You definitely need some sponsorship, bro. Like Billy TK back in the day, bro. He went out to go to Bluebird chips and Lion Red beer to get sponsorship for his stage shows and things like that. Like I really reckon DK will, like, one of these days he'll have a Lion Red sponsorship, like a little symbol down there in the bottom corner or something. Speaking of sponsorship, you know what I keep freaking forgetting to doing? I forget to mention my sponsors. Okay, up in this corner over here, you've got HoldenHealthCare.com, the wonderful, amazing David Holden, who took me back from the brink of death when I found out I had liver problems, is available for you as well, folks. So if you've got somebody who is a hard to treat case, that's what he specializes in. He's a naturopathic oncologist. Now, the body's got the ability to heal itself, provided it has the right tools. Okay, so he comes in, he identifies what might be happening, where the imbalances are, and then gives you a regimen so that you can take the supplements and then change your habits to fix yourself. He told me that you've got a choice when you've got a big problem in your life to do with your health. You can A, change, or B, die. Do you want to live? Are you willing to change? Because if you want to live, you have to be willing to change. And that's what he helped me to recognize when it came to taking care of my own health. You know, I'm an old man now. I'm 40. And no offense to anybody who's older than 40. I know you're old too. But the thing about it is, as you grow older, your health deteriorates. All right. From the lifetime of accumulated toxins and things of that nature. And so instead of, pounding yourself with toxicity, you've got to get yourself a little bit of that good stuff in and take care of yourself, because nobody else is going to eat your food for you or go to the bathroom for you. They can't. So it's you that has to take care of those bodily functions and take some responsibility. But sometimes you do need somebody who knows exactly what they're talking about, who knows exactly what's going on inside your body and knows exactly how to heal it in order for you to have those tools in your box so that you can go off and do that job. That's holdenhealthcare.com. Emphasis on the care. I miss David. I haven't talked to him for a little while. I'm going to give him a bell. I don't think he's ignoring me because I completely forget to mention his sponsorship on the program. I don't think he listens to the program anyway. Anyway, we have a second sponsor as well, which is reopen.nz, the lovely Henry, who gave us much of a needed boost during those years of lockdown by kindly sponsoring the show around about the same time that David Holden started sponsoring the show. And reopen.nz is a directory of anti-mandate, pro-choice, all-inclusive businesses in New Zealand. So if you have a freedom business, go to reopen.nz and add your freedom business today. I really wanted to do something like create a database of this, because I remember when I started getting sponsored by them, and there were, I don't know, maybe a couple of dozen businesses on there, and now I can scroll for a significant period of time to see huge quantities of New Zealand businesses that actually signed up to the website, have their freedom platform, right? It's freaking amazing what Henry's able to do with his skills and stuff like that. And that's what I love about the truth movement, is that we're all very, very different, and we've got very, very different skills and life stories and things of that nature. But the same thing, I believe, is true of us all. At one point, we had something we were doing that was fun, it was inspiring, and then somebody came along and destroyed it for us. Left a bad taste in the mouth. And we didn't do it again. So we became a changed individual. And we started doing something completely different. A different business. A different way of living life. We adapt and we learn. That is what makes us different. And that is why people resent us. That is why we don't get invited to many parties, because we bring people down, you know? I remember I was at a festival, and these guys got up to leave and go, "Google satanic ritual abuse." I'm kidding. Yeah, trust me. That is a deep rabbit hole to go down to. If you'll pardon the pun, was that meant to be a pun? I certainly hope not, because that would be revolting and unprofessional of me, which I'm actually consequently very proud of if that was the case. Anyway, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, to this man doing a radio show in a hot studio without wearing proper pants. Thank you very much, and we will see you again sometime at the Vinny Eastwood Show.com.
Gentlemen, I brought you here to discuss the Eastwood problem. It may be necessary to penetrate the Vinny Eastwood Show. The Vinny Eastwood Show. Yeah, that's what I said.
Well, I've been working on a new Vinny scene. I think that might be the kind of penetration we need.
The Vinny Eastwood Show. Sundays, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Live on Ground Zero Radio. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and hermaphrodites. My fellow slaves of the global plantation. The Vinny Eastwood Show is bad news. It's like the news, but so much worse. It's the lighter side of genocide. Just because we're being exterminated doesn't mean we can't enjoy it. Otherwise, what's the point of being killed? The Vinny Eastwood Show, where the only thing worse than living in a high-tech global police state run by child trafficking Satanists is Vinny's jokes.
You see, this beastly, ghastly show has been exposing our scumbaggery, which we call necessary.
Yeah, and as the World Economic Führer, I believe we should give him a little gift with a little card that says Merry Christmas from Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah, we could send something through his windows. Yeah, I've been speaking with Jacinda Ardern that we need to eliminate the threat of Vinny Eastwood.
Why do you say Vinny Eastwood when it's clearly Winnie Eastwood?
Absolutely, he's a major impediment to our planet. How are we going to get rid of him?
We could poison his water supply.
We've done that already.
Okay, I'm running out of ideas here. I'm sorry, I've got a lot going on. Klaus Schwab Jr. telling people that I'm some evil overlord.
Oh, that's just not true. You see, we're lifetime actors.
Yes, we play the role, don't we?
But I am still glad, even if I am not really the overlord, and I have penetrated all the cabinets of the world, penetration is big for me.
Oh, it's big for me, too. I wouldn't be me if it weren't for the copious quantities of penetration.
Yeah, so thank God my mother's out of the way. Otherwise I never would have been king. Just keep to go on and on. You know, the stress of dealing with this Vinny Eastwood problem is probably what killed her. I mean, she was a very young 96, wasn't she?